Hey everybody. It's kind of on the late side. I am my main goal still is to just come on when I can and to get myself out of that place of resistance and tamping down the light to shining. So I'm suggesting that for you as well. And I want to continue the discussion, the open discussion. So there's not anybody on yet. So I wasn't planning to do this, but if you're listening to the replay, I may still be able to see your questions. If I didn't put anything under this video, actually, I'm not even sure. They changed the platform, so I'm not even sure how to do that, but I've got to figure it out. So I want to put the link to my Telegram and to a few other things, but I'll probably have to do that after the fact. Hi, Gib. Yeah, I wish I would have done that now. Okay, anyway, I entitled this video "A Time of Fire." I wanted to call it "Fight Fire with Fire," "Holy Fire." The world is on fire, and I looked. Oh, what's up? It's Telegram. Close that. I looked at There's a verse. There's a description of the Torah. Kabbalah calls the Torah sometimes black fire on white fire. Why is that? Hi, Vanessa. Why is that? Because even in the structure of the writing itself, so the letters, the Hebrew letters, I just opened this randomly, is the prayer book with Psalms. Again, in case you want to see, those are the Psalms and the prayers. Anyway, the way that the Hebrew letter, the letters are not just ordinary letters. Hebrew letters are the letters of creation, and they're shaped by very, very mystical design, God's design, to represent physically, graphically, the actual living channels of divine flow, creative energy, light, information, vibration. That when those letters are, those flows, that intense divine flow, obviously infinitely creative divine flow, is combined in different orders, it creates different things. So we have that in speech, we have that in print, and God is doing that through what's called divine speech. The world is being brought into being at every instant, continuously. What's propelling that is God's desire, which is fire. The nature of the soul is also fire. The soul comes from a level that's called, all souls come from a level that's called Gevura Ilah. It's Gevura, supernal Gevura. So holy fire, I'll translate it as fire. I'm not going to translate it in any other way right at this time, even though the word has a lot of meaning. What is fire? What does fire do? So picture of fire. I almost wish I had a candle here. If you think of a candle, you can see that the flame is like moving and shaking and vibrating and reaching, like it's almost like it's trying to jump off the wick, and actually it is. And the reason for that is because the fire, the source of fire, is, as Kabbalah explains, as Shara Yichud explains, it's underneath the orbit of the moon, and all fire is trying to get back. Everything's trying to get back to its source. The body likes physical things, right? Like the body likes to would like to wallow in the mud, like to roll around in the grass and eat a lot of ice cream and sleep all the time and get a lot of massages and other things. And that's because the physical tends toward physical and the spiritual tends toward physical, towards spiritual, and everything is constantly trying to return to its source. So not to go too much into this because it's not the main topic right now, but the soul, your soul, my soul, our souls are compared to the fire of a candle, and the body is compared to the candle itself, the body in the physical world. Like the wick that gets burned, physical things are consumed by the fire that's held to the wick, by the soul in the body. They're consumed, meaning they're elevated, they're used to create spiritual things. They're used to create holiness. Like when we eat food and we say a blessing, that takes the physical thing, which intrinsically is hiding the spiritual thing, and uses it to elevate spirituality. So we're constantly taking physical and bringing it into spiritual, but at these times, we're also meant to take spiritual and bring it into the physical. Because as the Rebbe said, the apparent separation between the physical and the spiritual worlds represents a very immature state of human evolution. And in very short order, that won't be the case anymore. So often the Rebbe would give I don't know so often, but the Rebbe would sometimes give a blessing to people, if he was answering a letter or whatever, that they should have this blessing, begashmias uva ruchnias gam yachad. What does that mean? Gashmias is physicality, materiality. Ruchnias is spirituality. So in physicality, in materiality, and spirituality, gam yachad means not only that they're together, yachad means together, but gam yachad means that the more spiritual, the more physical, the more physical, the more spiritual. And that's where we are right now. And that's why things are in a sense very tough, because everything has to come down. Also why they're very elevated, why we're increasing all the time in our intuition and our knowing and our powers, the power of co-creation, of attraction, of manifestation, of prayer, all of these things, because there is an emerging between physical and spiritual, and we are participants in that. We always are participants in that. I'm just going to take a second and say hi to you guys, because I really want this to continue to be a forum, like an interactive forum. So I said hi to Gib and Vanessa. Hi, Edna. Hi, Galit, Meredith. Julie, thank you so much for all your support, you guys. Katie, Jennifer. Jennifer was a beta reader for my book. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And Choice Times. Very short order. We're in the process right now. So if you're asking about the very short order of spiritual and physical merging, it's happening. It's happening right now. That's why we are connecting on a, so to speak, physical device, but we're not physically together. That's spiritual and physical merging. Or where you can, energy healing is a massively amazing example of this, where you can think about somebody, have an intention, actually communicate with them at a distance, whether sometimes they are aware of it and sessions are with that, but sometimes they're not. Both work. So those are examples. Those are just a couple of examples of spiritual and physical merging. If you're familiar with Q, well, probably a lot of us are. So the idea that this is biblical, that politics is turning biblical, whatever that means, the prophecies are coming true manifesting before our eyes. So it's a process. And I guess because you asked the question, and because this is really key, there's a dynamic, absolute, interactive relationship between you and me, between each of us and the Torah and reality. What do I mean by reality? The physical world on the ground. What happens on the ground? I just sent out an email, part of my visibility project here, and I talked about Torah. That was the topic of the email. I don't think I've ever sent one out like that before, but people have to know. And I will say more about that in a second. I wanted to stop and say, this is the idea of fire. The Torah is black fire on white fire. What is the black fire? It's the letters, those channels of creation that bring things into manifestation, including wisdom, including commandments and instructions and divine principles, and for a sustainable world, all of that on all kinds of levels, including the mystical levels. What's the white fire? The white fire is the page. So looking again, the black fire is written on a white page. The black letters are written on a white page. The white is a more powerful fire in a way. I mean, both have their infinite importance. They go together. But the white fire is all of the infinite potential, the space that can't be defined. And more of that, back to this idea of physical and spiritual merging, more and more of that is coming into the revealed. So you could see the black letters as the revealed reality and the white page as the not yet revealed reality, that matrix or quantum space in which, divine space in which things are taking place. Hey, Carrie, hi, St. Paul, Minnesota, where I grew up. Materialists can't see the spiritual power rising. Yeah, we're all in I'm going to look at the questions soon. I really, really want to give people space for questions, and I want to answer as many questions as I can. No guarantees as to how many in any one sitting, but we'll see. Do our best. So I want to say something about fire. And if I lost a thread, feel free to remind me. Right now I'm feeling energy. You could call it light. You could call it energy. When I wrote the email on the Torah, I almost couldn't sit in my seat. I didn't plan to write an email entitled what is the Torah, or to say anything that I'd said. It was almost like the email wrote me. That's the experience sometimes that I have, but it was quite intense. The energy is just rising. Everybody here knows that. I don't have to tell anybody. The energy is rising. It's getting more intense, and it's a fire energy. It's kind of burning down the concealments. And that's probably on a spiritual level why, at least one of the reasons why, there are actual literal fires that God should actually, send some rains and put out those fires, and nobody should have to suffer. But there is an awakening that's required. So what I wanted to say, what I was saying before, I said I would get back to, is that we're in a literally a living, moment to moment, ongoing dynamic relationship with all of reality, with God, with the Torah, with ourselves, with the world. So the Torah is a written document. The Torah is also on a different level, and Hasidus and Kabbalah explain this, the Torah is the blueprint for creation, that God looked in the Torah. Ubara Alma, God looked into the Torah and created the world. That's God's own blueprint for creation. The Torah is God's desire, infinite, detailed desire, not only for something to be created, but for that created thing to continuously evolve into infinity and into eternity. So God created the world like that, and with that capacity, human beings with that capacity, and that is written into the Torah, which is the blueprint. So in this case, with an architect, a blueprint is like the architect will draw up the blueprint, or someone else will, and he'll look at it, and then he'll give instructions to the contractors, the builders, or whatever. The Torah is not like that, or it's certainly not mostly like that. The Torah is the living, dynamic godliness that is focused through the letters, and the black fire and the white fire, focused and empowered to actually create. But the Torah is not standalone. And this is the point that I want to bring out here also. The Torah is meant to be learned, understood, more deeply understood, more supernaturally understood by us on every level. So and how I can't explain this. Just give me a second. How it's designed to work is that we start out, God created Adam and Eve very, very wise, very lofty. They weren't even stuck in this level of reality. They were in the world of Bria, the word that's just the world that's called Bria, or the world of thought, the world of the archangels. It's an almost completely spiritual. It's a completely spiritual world. It's almost completely holy. It's not completely holy. Why not? Because there are creations in it, and anything that's a creation is hiding God. It's hiding all that is of God, and it's showing up as God in a costume. So in that sense, it's not holy, but it's a holy, holy, lofty world. Eating from the tree of knowledge, which was definitely planned by God, because he put a snake in the garden for that reason, and he said to Adam and Eve, you should not eat, you shall not eat from this tree. You should eat from all the trees of the garden. This tree you should not eat from, and when you do, you'll die. So deep story, Rabbi Manis Friedman tells it best, that particular story. But the point is that at that point, humanity fell, not just fell out of the garden, but fell worlds. We fell into it was a dimensional fall. So we fell from the world of Bria to the world of Asiya. The world of Asiya is the world of action. It's the physical world. It's the world where things are almost all bad. From a divine point of view, what does it mean bad? God is hidden. That's what means bad. God is revealed. That's how you define good in this context. So we're in a fallen world, and that fallenness is integrated into our psyches and integrated into our structures and our governments and our institutions. Pretty much everything about is our laws of nature. And then the Torah is given to this world, into this world. That's specifically where the Torah is. There are other levels of Torah, but the Torah is given here. The Torah is meant to be developed by people on earth, by human beings on earth, in a fallen being in a fallen world. Why? Because we carry a divine soul at our core. So we are one of the reasons why we are the world. Each person is considered a world, is because we have these two absolute extreme poles of reality. God made Adam from the dust of the earth. Maybe it was quantum, but whatever it was, he made man from the physical substance, and then he blew the divine soul into man, as as opposite as you could get in potential. Then he put a snake in the garden, and the snake, which the Hebrew word for snake is nachash, the gematria of snake is Mashiach, the Redeemer. So the snake, the darkness, is designed to cause a fall to the level, to a level that we could not go any deeper into a fall than this. Because if there were any more evil in the world, if there were any more concealment in the world, that would be the end of that'd be the end. And if you believe in previous cycles, I'm kind of agnostic on it, how that worked, but in all previous cycles, the world did go off the cliff, because the level of light and goodness was not sufficient to sustain, to moderate the level of knowledge and power. And that, in every case, was a fire that turned on mankind and consumed them. And for many years, I have had the thought, and I believe this, I know this, that in this cycle, we have the Torah. Because the Torah is given, as the Torah itself says, to bring peace to the world. The Torah is given to create a sustainable, inhabitable world, which will ultimately become a divine world. So Torah is meant to be learned by us level after level. We start with the surface level. We learn the lessons. There's a God, and God wants certain things, and it's advisable to do what God says. There's a Torah. It was given through Moses. There's an exile, there's a redemption, there's a land of Israel. There are laws. There are laws for the Jewish people. There are laws for all people. There are universal laws. There's wisdom that applies to everybody. The more we do this, the more the fallen nature of the world, the denseness of physicality gets made more transparent, more receptive to its source. And likewise us, our bodies are more receptive. Remember, spiritual and physical are merging. It didn't just start now. It's been ongoing since the Torah was given. That was the first effect of the Torah, 3,330 something years ago. When the Torah was given, the decree that spiritual and physical, the divine decree that spiritual and physical had to remain separate, was nullified. And now you could use physical things to create spirituality, and spiritual things to create more expansion physically. And then the wisdom to know the difference, the wisdom to bring them together in appropriate godly ways. So as we started to interact with physicality in accordance with the divine prescription, at least some of us did, the nature of nature started to change, and nature itself became more open to its spiritual source and to its divine source. And then because nature is more open, the body's more open, the ego is more open and receptive. So now when we go back to the Torah, now we can see new, deeper things. Like any human being can, as they evolve in consciousness, you see more depth in everything that you didn't see depth in before, right? You can be in the same situation, in the same conversation, and it's completely different. How come? Because you're different. But here we have, because the Torah creates reality, as we allow Torah to make us different, and we learn Torah, and we bring it out through our minds, through our speech, through our actions on a new level. So now the world changes also, because Torah is the blueprint for creation. And as the world changes, what was once inaccessible to us, like, attracting actual manifestation of reality, is almost universally now accepted as a real thing. How come? Because the process keeps accelerating. We are interactive with the Torah. The Torah is interactive with us, and the Torah and we are generating reality, or at least we are generating the front presentation of reality on the ground, and it's circular. Because each thing, physical makes more potential for spiritual, and spiritual makes more potential for physical, and the Torah is in the middle, accelerating and expanding and uplifting, up-leveling both. So I want to say something else, and then I'm going to look at what you guys have to say here. And I want to say something about fire and about Mashiach. For those who might not know the word, probably, I don't know. If you don't know the word Mashiach, Mashiach means Messiah, and I'll probably keep translating that because as new people come. And please share this video and all of these videos if you would like to have this conversation extend, to expand our forum. Fire is needed. The Torah is holy fire. The black fire on the white fire is holy fire. The world is burning, also in unholy fire. So you have to fight unholy fire with holy fire. And the ultimate fire, and in a certain sense, the missing piece, and this is what I'm really feeling the last few days. Like I have been involved with, well, let's say that the process, the messianic process. So Mashiach is the Messiah, according to Torah. That's the Hebrew word. Mashiach means anointed, literally. King David was the first Mashiach. He was the first anointed by the prophet Samuel with oil. So that's what it means. And the Davidic lineage exists in every generation. David Melech Yisrael Chai Chai V'Kayam, until it comes to the final generation, which is our generation of this process. That's why it's called the end of days. The world's not ending, you guys. The world's transforming. It's up-leveling. It's going to reconnect. This physical world is going to be a vessel that will be able to receive and integrate all levels and all worlds. The physical isn't going away. The physical is not subservient to the spiritual. It's the other way around. The physical is where God wants to be revealed. That's the purpose for creation. That's why the souls are in bodies. Even the bodies, the Rebbe talked about the potential for going through, staying in our same bodies, changing our consciousness to such a level and our connection with God and the Torah that we don't even need to die for even for a short period of time. I'm going for that possibility. We'll see what happens. But the world is also not ever meant to go out of existence. It's not meant to be destroyed. Not in this cycle, not in any future cycle. It's meant to be up-leveled and elevated, expanded and illuminated until all worlds, all levels, all perspectives, all dimensions, all fields of reality are all present in this physical world and all illuminated by the one God, the one light, the one Torah, which is not monolithic in the sense that it's, all my way or the highway. It is a symphony that plays the divine song. But we are the orchestra. Right? So this is really, really important to understand. And what I have started to perceive as missing even among people who understand that we're in the Messianic age, which we absolutely are and have been since 1991. It's going slower than I thought. It's going crazier than I thought, but it is the transformation of all of reality forever as a starting point for infinite expansion forever. So the missing piece is that what the Torah says about events feels and is completely real. And we need to understand what Mashiach is, who Mashiach is, how we relate to Mashiach, how we can identify Mashiach, because that I am seeing and feeling very strongly. And I really came on here to say this, that piece is the primary anchor, the primary bedrock, the core around which everything else happens, because we're one structure. Humanity, God, world, Torah, we're one thing. In fact, let me just give you a little Kabbalistic. So there are 4 worlds. It talks about the Kabbalah talks and Hasidus talk about 4 worlds. I promote mostly the learning of Hasidus. That's what I teach. Kabbalah is embedded in Hasidus, but Hasidus is the Kabbalah is the 4th level of the Torah. It's called Sod, secret, but Hasidus is the 5th level. Kabbalah is compared to wine, because when you drink wine, secrets come out. Hasidus is the 5th level, which corresponds to the deepest level of the soul, the deepest level of consciousness. It takes that secret and it makes it grounded in manifested reality, integrated, absorbed, completely transformational. So it contains all of the levels in a way that reveals the deepest secrets. Hasidus is compared to oil, because what does oil do? Drop it on your shirt and you'll find out. It permeates everything. It blends with everything. It makes everything rich or stained, whatever it is. Leaves its impact. It soaks in. So that is Hasidus. And there's a story told, actually. It's that about, God, metaphorically, the king had an only child, that's you. And that child was languishing, that's our world. And he was on his deathbed, that's our world. And and the king called to all the physicians in the land to, anybody who can come save my son, I'll give you any resource you need. I'll give you half my kingdom. And of course, a lot of people showed up and none of them could help. And the son was unconscious and barely breathing. And finally, this elderly physician came and he said to the king, I can heal your son, but to do so, I need the biggest crown, the crown jewel, the biggest jewel from your crown, the most precious. And by the way, I'm going to have to grind it into powder, and I'm going to have to put it in liquid, and I'm going to put some on your son's mouth because he can't swallow because he's unconscious. And that's going to start his healing process. So the king said, anything for my only son, my beloved son. Remember, you're the son. So the doctor came and took the crown jewel, and everybody's watching with bated breath. The king is watching and hoping, and the doctor grinds the jewel to powder and puts it in the liquid, and he goes over to the child, the king's son, and he puts a little bit on his mouth and a little bit on his tongue. And the child begins to breathe. And then he can take a little more. And he breathes deeper. And he starts to awaken. And he continues to awaken. And then he becomes healthy again. And he becomes fully healthy and alive as the king's son. And that's still you or daughter. So this is what we're doing here, but we are in a structure in this. So I started to say that they're considered 4 worlds. Generally, we talk about 4 worlds, Atzilut being the highest, Atzilus, Bria, where Adam and Eve first fell from, the archangels, then Yetzirah, most of the angels, the world of formation, Yetzirah, and then Asiya, the physical world, the world of action. That's why action will move things more than anything else in this world. And Bria is the world of thought, and Yetzirah is the world of emotions. Atzilus is the world of higher consciousness, of unity. But before Atzilus, there's another kind of world. It's not talked about so much. It is called Adam Kadmon, or Adam Kadmon, which is the primordial man, as opposed to, or as a fractal of, or source of the first man, which is Adam Arishon, Adam, who was put in the Garden of Eden. But this whole world of Adam Kadmon, it's an intangible world. It's called the blueprint for creation, but it's all of creation across, not only across existence, but all time and all space. In Beskira Achat, in one glance, this is God's deciding on what is going to be in one point of reality, without any elaboration, but with all the hidden elaboration that's going to be unfolded, that is unfolded, that was unfolded as God created the world, and as we are interacting with it, and will be unfolded throughout all time and all space forever. But what is the name of that world? The primordial man, Adam Kadmon, primordial man. That tells you that the entire creation is a man. And we as human beings, when we're created in the divine image that he desires to have manifested is created like us. It's shaped like us. What does that mean? We have to study Torah to know what that means. But Mashiach, the Redeemer, is not a figure separate from us. It's part of us because we're one body. The first man, Adam, in the Garden of Eden, was the one core soul that contained the spark of every soul of every human being that would ever live. There are a couple of exceptions that didn't go through the fall, but we won't talk about that right now. But all of us came from there. And all of us are like sparks and cells of that one cosmic super soul. And Mashiach is the cosmic super soul after all of the work has been done, after all of the physicality has been used for spirituality, after the fall and the internalization of the evil of the snake and the darkness of the separateness of the human condition and everything that we've been through. And here we are awakening. It's been a long road, a really long road, and quite a torturous road. But part of our job here is to clear that trauma, to see it and clear it, because there's a flip that's happening. What's a flip? When I say a flip, I mean that there's a process going on, and all of a sudden that process stops and it turns to another direction. Like a child that's being developed at a certain point, and he becomes an adolescent, and he stops the process of listening to his parents and just being a good kid, and he goes into a space of chaos, and then hopefully he emerges, and now his intelligence and his choices are from the inside. Not that he's obedient to his parents, but let's say he has really good, wise parents, so he is like his parents. Another flip is childbirth. You have a baby developing in the womb, and it's developing and it's developing and it's growing and it's getting bigger and better. And then all of a sudden there's a flip. And instead of developing in the womb, it has to get out of the womb. And then it goes into a narrow birth canal. That's where we are right now. And then there's going to be another flip. Morning to night, night to morning, instant, one moment to another. The birth is finished, and all of a sudden there's a vast new reality. That's what the end of days means. The end of days is the end of the gestation into that passage into a new reality, a completely new reality. But it's not just an upgraded reality. It's the culmination, the wholeness, the fulfillment, the union of all levels of reality, of everything. So it's in the shape of man, and in the structure of man, this cosmic structure of man, God, Torah, it's all of creation, this man, there is a central figure that carries the unified light, the unified wisdom. And this central figure is the soul of Mashiach that is passed down spiritually through Moses. In every generation, there's a manifestation of the soul of Moses in the body of the potential Redeemer. Why hasn't the redemption happened till now? Because the generation wasn't ready. The maturation process wasn't done. When the soul of Mashiach is the match for the generation and the times, now the soul of Mashiach and the generation, who are actually one, Mashiach's compared to the brain, Mashiach's compared to the heart. It's the core soul. We're part of that soul. That soul is part of us. It's not separate. So neither are we separate, right? There's no actual separation. The feeling of separation, experience is a function of exile, where we're separate from ourselves. Don't you ever feel separate from yourself? And we have conflicting desires, and we're separate from our souls, and we're separate from our memories, and we're separate from our past lives. We're separate from each other, and we're separate from, separate from God, and we're separate from life and death are separate. All this separateness. That is a matrix, like some people like to say, a false matrix. It's an illusion that is very, as Einstein said, persistent. It's here for a reason. It's here in order to allow for our development. We're held in place like the flame is held on the wick. We're held in a certain place so that we can, with memories, even though the world has been created at every instant from literal divine nothingness, divine desire. So is there any reality that's solid and stuck? No, but it has to look like that. We're created with that. We're recreated. We were recreated, trillions upon trillions of times since I said that a second ago. But we don't feel different, because in order for us to grow the way we have to grow, we have to be held in place. Our memories are recreated with us, but a new light, a new potential, a new energy. That's the white space, the space in between creation. The uncreation space is the white space. That's if we connect to that, even intentionally, and with our desire and intention, desire and attention. I heard someone say that last night. I love the way that was said. So you have to look, if you're, are you fully out? Are you all out on your intention, on your desire? Are you living the life you desire? Are you aiming for what you desire? And then are you putting your attention on that? That's the hard one. For me, that's the hard one. I have desire and intention down, like really down. But attentions, I'm scrolling media, I'm getting confused, I'm wondering if I should even get online, like that. What should I do? There's too much to do in a day. Maybe I should just read a book. So we have to put our attention, we have to keep our eye on the ball. We have to put our attention on what we want. But Mashiach is the unifying light, the unifying consciousness, the unifying energy, the unifying soul. What is a soul? It's a divine within the physical at its core. There are levels of soul, but the deepest level of soul is divine. So when we can identify that soul of the generation, connect to that soul's teaching, it's always going to be a teacher of Torah. It's the Torah giant. who is simultaneously observing and participating in creation of everything at every instant, from the top down and also from the bottom up. The Torah itself, the 5 books of Moses, the Bible says about Moses that he was Ish HaElokim, he was a divine man. How do you have a divine man? Ultimately, we're all divine men, but for us, it's concealed. Why is it concealed? Because our job is to transmute the energy of physicality and of darkness to reveal its deeper, deeper light. Our job is to develop our human until stage by stage, lifetime by lifetime, moment by moment. Now it's accelerating really fast until it becomes a complete container for absolute divinity while remaining physical and human. That's a pretty big job. So to do that, we have to be held in separateness. That's the snake energy, and in trauma and in insecurity and in shame and in fear and in guilt. And then we need to bring that intense light of the soul to transmute those things into power, into wisdom, into peace, into connection, into consciousness, into passion, and so much more. And it really does work like that. That's usually the work that I do. That's usually the work that I teach. But I see now, I started out in my Messianic era level career in 1991. I got activated. I'm not going to go into that right now, but I think I will at the end of, and I think I will soon. I think I'm going to be doing an event where I'm going to be telling you things that, historical things that happened in 1991, 1992, 3 and 4 that nobody, especially 1992, that almost no human beings know about. But I do because I was there and I was involved, having to do with the Rebbe, having to do with Mashiach. But meanwhile, I'm seeing that. So that's how I started out. I started out by thinking all I have to do is like somehow, work with people and get the Rebbe to like do his mission and take us out of exile. It was obvious that he was Mashiach of our generation anyway. And, it built, like we got international publicity, and the Rebbe gave us blessing after blessing after blessing after blessing every time we did something to like reveal his actual nature and mission. And what is the reason for that? Because Mashiach is also a king. A king, this is also a Kabbalistic principle. There is the Ein Melech Below Am. Because of the symbiotic relationship, the oneness between a king and the people, because we're all one thing, it can't just be that the king just does it without us. The brain can't do anything without the body. And not just the body, the energy field and the blood and, the immune system and every single organ and every single cell, it all has to work together. That's the function of Mashiach, but it's not one way, just like our relationship with Torah is not one way, it's interactive. So Mashiach cannot be activated. Remember, I said there's always a potential Mashiach, but it will not be manifested as Mashiach and do its job in the world unless the generation, not only that the generation is ready, ours is. The process has begun. Like when birth starts, it's not going back. The baby cannot go back to the womb. What could happen is that it could take a long time. What could happen is that could be bumpy. What could happen is, things that could happen. And some of them are happening. And some of them have happened. And some of them are horrible. What we want to do is now take over consciously. And for that, you need fire. Because the world's on fire. You'll have to fight fire with fire. You can't fight fire just with consciousness and pleasant words. Why? Because our consciousness, yes, can take us out of this matrix, but it's meant to change in this matrix. We've got to bring what we get from out of the matrix into the matrix. God himself is doing that. God is creating the world because he wants to be revealed fully in the physical world, inside of your body, inside of the White House, inside of the Temple Mount, inside of your orange juice, whatever it is. So for this, spiritual and physical both have to be permeated with a higher light, a holiness. And everything has to work together. So first of all, we have to activate Mashiach by accepting him as Mashiach, because that's the aspect of the king. A king, according to Torah, is not what's called a moshel, a ruler, a dictator. A king is a melech. A melech is intrinsically connected out of love. and out of oneness with his people. So there's no king without a people. In the times of King David, like I started to say, David was anointed. Again, Mashiach means anointed. He was anointed by Shmuel Navi, by Samuel, the prophet, but that did not make him the full king. That was only half of it. So this high soul, this mega soul, the central soul that contains all souls and is contained within all souls. It's like the brain contained in every cell, contains everything. That's what it's like. That that does exist and has been anointed, but cannot be activated without acceptance from the people. So King David, once he was anointed, his own tribe did accept him. But it took 7 years of opposition and war till the rest of the Jewish people accepted him. How do you accept a king according to the Torah? You say, long live the king. That's literally, that's the verbal acceptance. And the people said, as far as I understand, Yechi Melech David Le'olam, long live King David forever. So what goes with that? It's not just a declaration. It's an allegiance. It's I'm gonna learn what you say. I'm going to follow your guidance. King David was a warrior. He was the leader of an army. He was a teacher. He wrote the Psalms. So this is the relationship with Mashiach has to be activated in whatever ways it is. And we have to learn the Mashiach, the soul, the messianic soul, the Mashiach soul of every generation is the primary receiver of the generation's new dimension of Torah. The depth of the Torah that was given to Moses gets unfolded by humans over time, over depth and dimensions, like I explained before. So the primary actor in that is the Mashiach of the generation, but we have to be learning that Torah. Torah just spoken, God created the Torah. Is the Torah going to do anything by itself? No, it needs us. I keep emphasizing in different ways, and I hope it's getting across. I'm going to look at the chat in a second. I think I've said enough for myself for right now. But I will keep repeating, I must keep repeating that it is through us that things get manifested. We are interactive with it. We are essential partner with it. We are half of it. Maybe we're more than half of it. I'll just say this one more thing. In Shar Yichud, which I teach in the Global Geula Gateway, is one of the texts that I teach from the second Lubavitcher Rebbe, and it is the gateway to divine consciousness. It's miraculous. It has to be learned very deeply. In my email, if you're not on my email list, you can go to my very much in need of renovations, almost defunct website, thegateofunity.com, and you can sign up for anything and you'll be on my email list. I already sent an email today, but I want to post it in somewhere here. I'll have to do it after the video. I'll YouTube after the video's done, but I don't even know if it's global. I don't even know the name of I could probably look it up. But anyway, in the Global Geula Gateway, we learn Shar Yichud and of the Midler Rebbe, and it transforms the mind. It opens the mind to divine consciousness. That needs to happen. And we learn the discourses of the Rebbe, which are from the Baal Shem Tov down. The Baal Shem Tov was the founder of the Hasidic movement. He was the first one to teach Hasidus, and all of his disciples, who were also cosmic level souls and founders of Hasidic dynasties, each taught their own brand of Hasidus, their own flavor. And I teach Chabad Hasidus, the discourses of the Rebbe that are specifically most empowering to activate our divine light, our transformational light, our messianic light, to bring this home. And it's not home only on a cosmic or global sense, that biblical sense. It's home in terms of our own transformation. But we need the fire. It's not enough just to have water. It's not just enough to have wine or oil. We need fire. And our fire is our connection to the aliveness of the Torah, the aliveness of our souls, and also to the identity, the reality of the operation of Mashiach in our time. And it's real. So all of the Torah from Baal Shem Tov on is called Torah Social Mashiach, or Torah Toshel Mashiach, which is the Torah, literally the Torah of Mashiach. And Torah, again, cannot just be delivered into the world by a great holy tzaddik or righteous soul. It has to be learned and integrated. And in Shar Yichud, this text that I'm telling you, The Gateway to Divine Consciousness, in chapter 1, at the end of chapter 1, in the explanation, it talks about the relationship between the giver and the receiver, the teacher and the student. And it asks the question, the teacher and the student have to connect in very specific ways. And each of their ways is different. The teacher has to put his own knowledge aside. He has to get out of his head, find the light that he wants to transmit, and then clothe himself in the garments, in the brain, in the thought, in the world of the student, so that he can find the perfect words to transmit something that is far more powerful than the words. He can find the black fire through which he can transmit the white fire. And when that goes into the student, it illuminates the student's fire from the inside, and the student starts to, at first he only hears the words. Sometimes it's a process of multiple iterations, but then as the student studies the words, they illuminate his own soul, and all of a sudden he flips, and his understanding of the words is a knowing of the reality. That happens level after level. What's the stance of the student to receive this transmission? This is for everybody here. What's the stance of the student? The student has to be in a state of bittul. He has to be beginner's mind, and he has to be yearning to receive the transmission. He has to be connected. He has to be in the deepest longing to hear from the teacher, to receive from the teacher. And nothing about his preconceptions can get in the way. That's the bittul, the self-nullification, the openness. And those two components between teacher and student are what allow a connection to be made that will allow not only information to get across, but the transmission of all the fire that's in the information, all the aliveness that's in the information, all the divine power that's in the information, all the multidimensional reality and consciousness that's in the information. So which one, Shari Yichud asks, the Parcher asks, which one of those two actors in the transmission holds the power is more important, and it is the student. The teacher can transmit nothing. The infinite knowledge of the teacher cannot go into the student if the student doesn't want it, doesn't open, doesn't yearn, like salivate, that's the expression, salivate for it. So I'm going to encourage, I feel a little silly because I don't have a link here, but I'm going to encourage everybody to, you can email me if you want it until I get it up, if you're interested in checking out the Geula Gateway, I have just sent out, maybe most of you are on my email list, access to 2 classes, recent classes, so that you can feel it and see what's going on in there. Every time I go into class now, by the time I come out of class, my mind is blown. And that's not just because of me, that's because when we get together with the Torah, each other in the Torah, in this state of yearning, in this state of mind opening, feeling and seeing things that, whoa, new things come out, and those new things are being revealed in a different way than they ever have in history. And this is Torah. Torah is revealed through us, or it's brought down to earth through us. It's revealed through the teacher and then absorbed through us, integrated and brought out. And that's when it really changes the world. So that's where we change our own reality and the general reality. So I invite you to join the Gateway if you want to. But certainly those classes, check them out. And in general, Torah must be learned, and it must be learned in a way of integration. This is the map to reality. This is not only the map to reality. This is the core cosmic light of reality. Torah is a carrier of actual living God, as well as God's wisdom and will. And we need to learn the Torah of Mashiach, the Torah that has been brought down to us, for us, specifically for our generation, as the perfect match to our generation. The cosmic soul of Moses is always the perfect match for our generation. Moses is called the Raya Mahemna, the faithful shepherd, because he incarnates in every generation and is with the people and moves them along and moves along with them and brings down the Torah in the guise, in the new body of that soul of that generation, was the potential redeemer. When our generation is ready and turns ourselves on to receive, connects to the central soul, to the Mashiach of the generation, activates him through activating ourselves, through learning his Torah, through accepting his teachings as the reality that we need to bring into the world, that we need to reveal it's here as potential, as light. We need to bring it in as reality. Now, what's happening? The process is so progressed, this birth process, that nothing can stop it. Nothing will stop it, but it's happening in a turbulent, fiery way. So if we want to fight that fire of turbulence, and I won't say, I don't want to give it words, but we want to fight. There's fire everywhere, even if it's not physical fire. If we want to fight that, there has to be fire, because the gullus has to be burnt down. The previous Rebbe at least once said, that the walls of gullus the walls of exile are burning. So now they're burning really fast. There must be fire. But why we can fight fire with fire is because when we activate and initiate the holy fire, the white fire, the black fire on the white fire of the Torah, and we absorb it, and we become it. We allow it to move us, and we move it. We allow it to expand and elevate us, and we expand and elevate it. Now reality changes without things having to burn down. They'll burn up instead. And I don't know about you, but that's something I really want. And I think that's what I'm here for. So that's my part here. Let me just see what you guys are saying. As I said, I'm going to answer questions, get your comments. Let's see. What do we need to do to facilitate this as Galit in the world, in our lives? Well, I think I've said part of that, but this is the first thing I would tell you to do. To learn, I would learn Torah, I would learn the Rebbe's Chassidus. And in general, Chabad Chassidus, and I would learn it from somebody who teaches it in a transformational way, whether it's me or there are other people, who do it. We do things in our own way, so I do things in my way, that's for sure. But that would be the primary thing, and it's not just me saying that. The Rebbe said that the Rebbe gave a lot of instructions and suggestions, which we can talk about as we go on, and I'll bring Rabbi Wolf back, and I hope to set up an interview with James Gosnell, who's on the Telegram group. If you're not on my Telegram group, you should join. We're having more and more conversation there. James is a very, very highly educated, Torah-educated non-Jew, Noachide, who has made it his business to learn Torah on a deep level and teach Torah on a deep level. So that's really cool. And this is the wave. This is the wave. This is what's going to happen. All the world is going to be learning Torah. And it's happening already. We just have to accelerate it, and we have to bring the fire. We really do. We have to bring the holy fire. So that's the main thing I would say. The Rebbe said that the straight way, the straight path to bring Mashiach, to bring the redemption, the Geula, is to learn Torah of redemption from all the sources in Torah. But I would say it's primarily through Chassidus, the deepest source, but not only. Prophets, law, in a manner of Chachma, Bina, and Das. Chachma is the right brain, Bina is the left brain, Das is the back brain, where things become personal and relevant and changes your emotions and your worldview. In other words, we have to absorb it as our reality until it transforms our brain, till we have completely new brain wiring, and that is the process. Shar Yichud does that. Actually, that's what it's designed to do. And yes, we can do it, and we have to do it. We don't do it alone. We just have to activate. See, this is the thing. This is the thing I haven't been saying for a long time. Why? True confessions. Because, it felt uncomfortable to talk about. I'm not even going to go into it deeply, but it felt uncomfortable to try to, when the Rebbe was standing in front of us, and when I was talking to a New York Times reporter, not Jewish at all, who told me, I think he is the Messiah. When the light was pumping out in front of our faces from the Rebbe, the world was taking off. Not the whole world, but anybody who was tuned in. Because people, I've seen atheists in front of the Rebbe who came out and said, what a godly man. What do you mean godly? You're an atheist. True confessions. One of those was my father. But not the only one. So, but it became much harder when the Rebbe went undercover, so to speak, which is how I see it. All souls who aren't physically present are undercover. They didn't go anywhere. They're just not visible in their bodies. with a mega soul, it's a little bit different. I have actually a good friend whose great grandfather was the Rebbe of a Hasidic dynasty, Chernobyl dynasty, and they exhumed his body at one point. I think he was buried in Ukraine. I think they moved him to Israel, and when they exhumed the body, I always heard, that they say that our bodies disintegrate because our bodies are corrupted by things that we've done that aren't holy, and the body needs to go back to the ground to be reconstructed when the bodies come back, as all bodies will, non-obsolescent bodies, not the obsolescent ones that we have now, but transparent to their source, but bodies, physical bodies, like Adam and Eve. So but they say that the great tzaddikim, their bodies don't decay because they never did anything that corrupted the body. Everything was holy. They're completely integrated and unified. So, but I never knew anybody that could prove that. But she told me, my good friend, that the people who exhumed her great grandfather's body said it had been in there for I don't know how many decades, and it was completely intact. So there are many things in the world that we don't understand, but we could, and we need to, and we will. But we need to get our eye on the ball, and we need to start to activate the fire within our souls, the fire from the Torah, the fire of Mashiach. And that is what is going to shift everything. So yeah, again, long answer to your short question. That's the first thing that we can do. And then, there are all kinds of acts of goodness and kindness. The Rebbe was approached by a CNN reporter in 1991 who said, "What can we do to bring the Messiah?" And he said, "Increase in acts of goodness and kindness." So that's when you're doing it with the intention of facilitating redemption, then that's what it does. Giving charity, giving tzedakah is huge. Opening your eyes and seeing all current events as the action of the hidden hand on behalf of redemption. Holding the vision of the outcome instead of getting the big uh-oh, which I will admit I get a lot, especially when it comes to Israel and things that I think are wrong. When people lie, gives me the big uh-oh. I get very reactive. I work hard on it, but it's not gone. I could work on that more, go into the traumas. Why am I, what's the fear, past lives, whatever it is. But we want to see the Geula. The Rebbe said, open our eyes and see Geula. So we have to see it through the Torah, through the prophets, and in reality. Very powerful to do, share with others. And there are many more things. We can talk about more of them in the Telegram. Okay. A roller coaster for sure. Torah is our compass, 100%, but Torah has to be learned and integrated. Torah. When Moses was given the Torah, he went up on Mount Sinai for 40 days and nights, didn't eat, drink, or sleep. And he just received the entire divine download. The number 40 Kabbalistically is very powerful. It's the number of transformation. 40 is where things can shift from one form to another. So it was completely supernatural. Moses received two different versions of the Torah of Atzilus and the Torah of, and the second Torah that we have here. But the Torah of Atzilus is included in this Torah, and it's all one integrated structure. You cannot separate. Atzilus being the highest world. So, but Moses received the written Torah. He received the word-by-word transmission in the beginning. Bereshis bara Elokim, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The written word-for-word transmission from beginning to end of the 5 books of Moses, what they call the Old Testament, the Bible. But together with that, he received all of the inspiration, the knowing, and the codes, the illumination of the Torah's reality, and the codes, which is a vast sequence of codes that are teachable, through which what's called a Talmid Vatik, it's an appropriate student, somebody who is trained and trustworthy, a trustworthy student of Torah from then till now, can learn and use to properly interpret and extract deeper levels of the Torah. The levels of the Torah are infinite. They just have to be unfolded, extracted, revealed in alignment with the rules of the Torah. Otherwise, it's not Torah, it's distortion. Even though everything in the world is on some level Torah. But do we want Torah like twisted, or do we want Torah straight? twisted Torah causes twisted reality. Straight Torah causes a divine reality. Yeah, we're in the end times, Idan, 100%. Okay, God's concealment now seems like a consequence of humans denying God more than God hiding. I would agree with that. But I don't know how much humans are denying God as much as the very nature of being human and also the extreme level of chaos and noise in the world is covering God. I heard somebody on a YouTube say yesterday, I thought it was so profound, that if we would just stop paying attention to all media, our level of telepathy would grow immediately by leaps and bounds. I think it's true. I think the level of noise is actually being deliberately thrown at us to keep that from happening. But then again, everything is divine providence. So the strength and power that it takes to get beyond that noise comes from, requires and brings out deeper levels of the soul. So things aren't meant to be easy because we're going for cosmic. We're going for infinite and eternal. So we are upgrading ourselves in this process in a way that allows us to actually be infinite and finite at the same time. You're going to be yourself, and you're going to have access to full God and full everyone and everything within your being at the same time. So that is a big project. And for that, we have to be held down, like held in place, like the fire on the wick, and like made, like stay and do the work. Good news is that as physical and spiritual are merging, it's much more possible to have really expansive abundance physicality and to really enjoy it and to have that lead to more spirituality and more holiness. And that's part of the project too. That's also something we can work on and must. What was your question? Did Idan ask a question? Answer my question, lady. I didn't see a question. So if you have a question and I don't see it, you can add it again. We are the co-creators of reality in the ways that I have explained, and more ways than that. We are the co-creators of reality 100%. I'm going back to previous comments, so I hope I've explained that well already. Firefighters do sometimes fight fire with fire, and that's not an accident. Hashem echad u'shmo echad. God is one and his name is one. That's true. There's a book called Hashem is One. It's been translated into English. It's by a very holy tzaddik that lived a few hundred years ago, and it's all about the oneness of God and the names of God, and how all the names of God are roles that come from that one name that's intrinsic to God. That's the name that's one. Oh yeah, and the bush was burning too, right? The bush was burning. Moses' mission, the first Redeemer, was fire. Started with fire. We need the fire. Okay, I'm reading the comments. If Israel shall return to God on their own and make themselves worthy of the redemption, there's no need for the trials and tribulations. That is true. Prophecy is malleable because prophecy is God's vision, and that's the positive prophecy, and the negative prophecy is here to get us, to get with the program, kids. But it's not just Israel. I mean, we're all in it together. Yes, Israel's the central figure because Israel plays a certain role in the symphony, the souls of Israel. But at the end of the day, everybody came from Adam, and everybody needs to do their job. Everybody needs to do their job. There's one Torah, one God, one reality. We're all one. Not that we blend together like we all just play the same note. No, that's not what it is. We all have to perfect our own note, and then we can be that incredible part of that one symphony. Mashiach ben David will come directly and redeem us. Yes, but we have to redeem Mashiach ben David. I did not listen to Rabbi YY Shir. Funny that I was scrolling. Told you I scroll too much, and I saw it, but I caught the end. If you want to share anything in the chat about what he said, feel free. I think he was teaching Basi Lagani. There's a pole shift. Yeah, there's a pole shift. Every person's more like a universe than a person. Yeah, well, all the illusions, they're part of the project. They're necessary. We have to be held in our separateness until we overcome it by our oneness. Katie, I'm with you. I used to, when I was in 770 in the Rebbe synagogue, and he was saying these things that nobody had ever heard in the world, and unfortunately, not everybody received it who was there, believe it or not. And there was quite a bit of opposition, but and that was meant to be, I guess, in retrospect. But at the time, I do believe that if everybody had received it, it would have happened then. But like God calls the Jewish people, especially the stiff-necked people, Am Kshei Arif, which is a positive and a negative, like most of things in the world. But I used to watch out the window. I used to look at the window when the Rebbe was speaking to see if the scenery changed, and we'd gone to Jerusalem from Brooklyn. So I get that. I heard that Mashiach is not going to be religious. What? Is God going to be religious? I don't understand what you're saying, Peggy. Say it again. Modani Melechai. Yeah, so people are sharing, and that's awesome. We need to share. Please share on my Telegram too. But I'm not seeing so many questions yet. One of the speakers, like every time Hashem did something drastic, it came from different corners. Yeah, there's trickiness. There are side alleys in the Torah through which things came about, and they say that's to fool the Satan. He comes from where he's not looking for it, but that's allegorical. Really, there's light hidden in darkness, and there's light hidden in. There's the deepest light is most deeply concealed. So we have, and there's sparks everywhere. So we have to, how do the deepest sparks that are too deep to even be spoken of, like how does a snake, which is the epitome of all evil, all potential evil, how does that get integrated so that it's also starts to shine its divinity? And that has to be through a stealth process. So there's also the stealth process. And that, I think, applies to what you're saying, that, all these times that things happen in a strange way, not in a straight way. Yeah, this theory that Mashiach David has to grow up in darkness, it doesn't fit the Torah. I just have to tell you that. Although, there are different kinds of darkness. Mashiach is responsible. Mashiach bears, I was very sad to learn. It's horrible, but Mashiach bears 1/3 of the pain of the world, and that's darkness. But Mashiach is a soul that's larger than heaven and earth. Like all of our souls are at their core, at their God core, but Mashiach's is revealed. So he's not a little, person with a limited consciousness and a lot of trauma that he has to spend time clearing. He didn't come from that. He came to clear our trauma. The tzaddik level souls aren't here to clear their own trauma. They're not here to do their own rectification, like my friend's great-grandfather, the Chernobyl Rebbe. He had no trauma or maybe I'm sure he had a lot of trauma, but he had no corruption to clear. He had no inner mistakes that he had. He didn't eat non-kosher food. As a Jew, that causes problems with the body. He didn't sin. And so there was nothing that his body had to shift to get rid of. So to be the core soul that encompasses all souls and the brain and heart of the people of the generation and ultimately of all generations, that's a big soul. That's not an ordinary soul. That's not a person who works hard or, I'm not saying he doesn't work hard. He works harder than everyone, but it's not an ordinary person. There are certain souls that are not ordinary. And I'm here to testify, like a lot of you know me for a while now, I'm not a bullshitter. I'm here to testify that the Rebbe was not an ordinary human being at all. Yes, he had a body. His body didn't function the same way that other people's bodies did. He could stay up for, many, many days. In his 70s, he could stand for, I don't even know how many hours and hand out heavy books to thousands and thousands of people who were dropping on their feet. That's just a small thing. The Rebbe was the destiny that we all, that we're all moving toward. Is. You can't. If I know that, I'll tell you a little story. I hope you won't mind. He doesn't get online, so he won't even know unless someone tells him. But the wonderful Rabbi Kessin, who I think is amazing, I love him. He came to my house for dinner with his wife in Jerusalem once, a few years ago, and he was saying, Mashiach, think about Mashiach. Mashiach has to be on the greater than Avraham Avinu, than Abraham. Can you imagine such a thing? He said, a soul, a person, a human being greater than Abraham? And my husband and I look at each other and we're like, yeah. But you can't know this, a human being can't know this unless he experiences it. There are those who experience it. It is possible to experience it now, but to do that, you have to immerse yourself in the Rebbe's Torah. That's the way you have to do it now. You can't do it by seeing his, unless some people maybe are activated that way. But it's not a regular person. It's not, it has a different, that kind of soul has a different process, a different journey, a different role. Other specific focus practices. Do we want to say everything at once? Let's focus on them at specific times. I did mention a few, and they're really core. So let's work on those for now, and we'll talk about more later. The learning, the opening your eyes and seeing Geula and everything, which is connected with learning. The holding of the vision and not getting distracted and into reaction, but go forward, adding in goodness and kindness, doing your mitzvahs, whatever the mitzvahs are for you. You don't have to do everything at once. That crashes a person. But, if you're a Jew, if you're a Jewish woman, start by lighting candles for Shabbat. In the press conference where that reporter told me, I think maybe he is the Messiah, there was another reporter, a woman, I forgot her name, Shelley something from 1010 Wins, if you're a New Yorker, 1010 Wins, she told me, I don't know if he's Mashiach or not, but I started lighting Shabbos candles, just in case. That was the reality at the time, and it's going to be on steroids at some point soon, but, it's hard now because now, can I just tell you something? I don't know who's listening live. I don't know who's going to be listening to the replay, but I got to let it all hang out at this point. I can't keep things back. So whatever, let the chips fall where they may. But I am 100% certain that the 2020 election was stolen. Probably a lot of you are, and maybe some of you are going to still. It's one of my sweetest cousins stopped talking to me when I said Mazel Tov when Trump won the election. I had no idea, but anyway, but that's everybody. Everybody will all find out what the truth is. But anyway, so it really occurred to me so many times that on a fractal level, what happened with the whole Trump thing, and I don't know. I'm not here to say, like, there was one point when I would have told you, like, I just absolutely love Trump. I still am leaning toward loving Trump, but he's a human being. He is, I believe, appointed. I do believe he's as Rabbi Kessin says, a messianic figure of Isa. But I do think that it's up to us through the Torah. I don't think that anybody's going to be allowed to save the world other than Mashiach through people, but through the Torah. So anyway, the fact that he was revealed and we're all waiting, it's going to be when it's 2020, he's going to win, he's going to go all out and everything's going to be, and he was winning. And then all of a sudden, watch the numbers switching in front of you on the news and you see fraud happening. And then you see him walk off the stage. You can't believe it. And then come the long 4 years where you're waiting for something to happen. It doesn't happen. Now we have 4 days. Hopefully it's going to happen. Who knows? So much is up to us. But that really reminded me of what happened with the Rebbe, where people were ramped up, but they were depending on the Rebbe. And it's not only up to the Rebbe. People used to go up to the Rebbe. Women that I knew back then in 1991 went up to the Rebbe, and they would say, one woman in particular would always say to him, "You're our Rebbe. You have to take us out of Gullus. You have to redeem us." And the Rebbe said, "If I'm your Rebbe, I'm telling you it's up to you." I have much more to say about this, which I probably will say at sometime soon. So it seems like, the white hat movement is like, we're not here to save you. We're here to help you save yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's about our own evolution. We can't be the same people who co-created the same situation that then ended up victimizing and imprisoning us and destroying us. We have to change. There's no option. So you could make a very good argument that the Rebbe, and I totally believe this, that the Rebbe had to disappear physically, still totally operating under the scenes, totally accessible, like every tzaddik, but more so. It's a time-honored Jewish custom to go to the gravesite of great tzaddikim and to pray. We're not praying to the tzaddik, we're asking him as our brain, to intercede, to take the rest of us, there's a string, to take the rest of us our prayers straight up. to help us, to intercede on our behalves, to give us blessings. We can give each other blessings, but it's much more so. So anyway, we're not allowed to just follow. We're not allowed to just, watch. We're not allowed to just, we have to change. This is about our evolution from finite to infinite. It's not a joke. And white hats are probably here to help us. Mashiach is for sure here to help us, but not to do it for us. The Rebbe said that in the very first discourse that he ever said when he accepted being Rebbe. He did not want to be Rebbe. The Hasidim of the previous Rebbe, his father-in-law, begged him for a full year. He just wanted to be left alone, and he wanted his father-in-law to redeem the people, and he believed he would still come back and do it, or at least he talked like that. And then finally, I guess he was given the word, and he accepted the Nesius, the leadership of Chabad, with this discourse, and he said, I am not doing this for you. You're the final generation. You need to do it. I'm here to help. So take that home and apply it to everything. Okay. Like the burning bush, Neshama Neshima. Just scrolling here. One body. Yeah, James is awesome. James is so good. So glad he's talking to us now. You can't stay only in the Kabbalistic spheres, learning Torah, doing goodness. The fire, if I wasn't clear, thank you for asking me. I think yes, but the main fire is in connecting with Mashiach, because Mashiach is the fire. Mashiach lights the fire. He ignites the fire, his words, his being, his energy, identifying him. Like, we're over an hour, so I don't want to, we're quite a bit over an hour, so I'm gonna wind down. But we'll have to get into all of this. And the truth is, I'm just coming back to it now. I avoided it for quite a few years and just worked on consciousness and learning and teaching the Rebbe's Chassidus and healing and not dropping any of that. That's the developmental stage that we're in. But now I do believe, and I really feel it, that we've come around full circle. All these things are in a circle. Like we came around in a circle with Trump, maybe. That was a 4-year circle. We're coming around in a circle with the Rebbe. That would be more like a 1994 to 30-something year circle. I hope it's just not much more of a circle. Depends on us. It's consciousness dependent, action dependent. Adam and Eve were in the Garden of Eden, and they could have gone, if they had not eaten from that tree of knowledge, which they had to do, but if they had not, let's say, then in 3 hours, they would have been given permission to eat from the tree of knowledge, which wasn't the tree of knowledge. The inner tree of knowledge was the tree of life. They would have eaten from the tree of life, and they would have lived forever, and there would have never been an exile. 3 hours. So that was a big fall, and we went around a long circle. That's 5,785 years so far. And counting, hopefully not that much higher. Hopefully not much higher at all. But things have to come around in a circle when you don't get it, and it's a big it that has to be gotten. So when there's a shattering of a potential, it breaks up into little pieces, and then we have to go around this long process to integrate the pieces until we can come back to that potential again, integrated, having transformed ourselves, made ourselves an integrated vessel that can hold that giant light. So that's where we are right now. And I do believe that connecting to the Rebbe and understanding that there is this cosmic soul and it's part of us and we're part of it, and teaching us and guiding us and helping us from behind the scenes, like all souls do, like our own souls do, but so much more so because it's the collective soul of all of us. So that is the fire. And I think that acceptance, that receiving, that connecting, that aligning, that yearning of the student to the teacher, like that, and all of it. I told you that the King David was activated by the people accepting him, by the Navi, the prophet, anointed him, but the people had to accept him before he could do his work. He is the king after all. He has powers we don't have, but he can't do his work without his army. And he can't lead the army until the army says, please lead us. Please lead us. We're doing our part now. We're not just waiting for you, but we need you to lead us. We need to bring it home. And then he has the power to operate behind the scenes as well, through us and beyond us. It's, God does everything, right? Your soul does things. How are you attracting lime green cars if you've ever played that game? How are you attracting things? Not with your hand. It's parts of you don't see. It's all one thing. It's all a fractal. It's all one thing. You just have to understand how it works. Is that thing about, I didn't hear about sending the $770, but I'm sure it's real. It's not seven. The Rebbe used to give every Sunday. The Rebbe used, and certain holidays, the Rebbe, people would come and stand in line. My most favorite memory of that is when, not besides going to the Rebbe personally, was seeing like hundreds of Amish people in Brooklyn. I went up to one of they were getting dollars. They were coming on Sunday. The Rebbe used to give $1 to everybody who would stand in line for hours and hours. And the dollar was supposed to go into charity. He would give $1, but people didn't give the Rebbe's dollar to charity. They kept the Rebbe's dollar and they would give their own money to charity, which was legit. So these, because the dollars would have special blessing, and often that was an opportunity to ask the Rebbe for a blessing, and lots of times people did. It's when you could stand in front of the Rebbe, and many, countless miracles happened. So these Amish people came this one time, and I was on the street in Kingston Avenue. I went up to one of the women. I said, "What, you guys came from Pennsylvania?" She's like, "Yes." I said, "Why did you come?" She said, "We want to get a blessing from the rabbi." So heads of state came to the Rebbe. But I mean, that's not over. Trump went to the Rebbe's burial site right before the election. Before the previous election, Ivanka and Jared went. There are many heads of state. Millet, I don't know if you know this or not, Millet is a follower of the Rebbe, and he is actually, he has the book of Simon Jacobson, and he learns Torah with, I think, with Simon and with other rabbis, and he's downloading this. So this is the king, and he operates in many different ways. There are amazing, unbelievable things happening. So of course, dollars are protection also. Like a blessing is a protection. It's just, so it sounds weird if you don't know about it, but it's not weird once you do. Can I share about my experience with the Rebbe? Yes, I'm going to make a special, I have to figure out what the calendar time is. I was very, very active in this back in 1991, 2, 3, and 4, especially 1992. And I had 2 young kids, and I had a baby that was damaged by malpractice, and her soul was a very high soul and activated me. I became like the burning bush. I was burning, but not burning out. That was fire. Wow. And I interacted with the Rebbe personally on a number of occasions, and I had a group of women that I worked with, and we pushed things. We pushed things to happen. So I have a lot of stories about that, and I would like to share them. And we made a special event. I'm not going to do it tonight, but we made a special event in 1992 on Koach Teves. This is the Hebrew month of Teves. Koach is 28th. Right now we're on the same date in Hebrew and English this month. So on the 16th, it says 12 days. It was actually the night. It was a Saturday night. It was between the 27th and 28th. It's the night of the 27th and going to the 28th. So I have to see what the date is and if it works. Or if I have to do a different date, that's also okay. I may be with my family then, visiting. But anyway, I would like to have a Farbrengen, and with a few hosts and on Zoom and everybody participating, and I'd like to tell some of those things and make it as real as I can for people. My eyes have seen the glory. Far from only me, but I was in I put myself in a certain position where there weren't too many people that saw the things that I saw and heard the things I heard. Yes, you're right, Laura. All Chabad emissaries, the goodness in life mission, the purpose, all of that, and so much more, so much more. I'm still scrolling down. I think Trump, I most of the time think Trump is a very good man, and gets it. And I think that must be true, but then sometimes I'm like reactive to things like the fact that there's a strong rumor that he pushed this deal, which is suicidal and immoral, evil, and perverted, which may not happen. Um, they're already saying, yeah, we're going to go back every October 7th and massacre all the, this, you don't make a deal with demons. And so if Trump is pushing that, I could try to give him the benefit of the doubt that I can think of all kinds of scenarios where it may just be a psyop and what it might accomplish, but it does make me think, I get, like I told you, I'm very reactive to things that happen in Israel. And when somebody goes against the Rebbe and somebody goes against the Jews, they have to earn my trust. So I'm just saying that. I'm just sharing where I'm at. I think we need more of this too, Nechama, and that's why we're going to do more. I just got a wave. She's, hey, Rachel. Good to see you here. Still scrolling down. Thanks, Gib. Thanks for that prayer. It was intended to be like, how probably a lot of you, again, followed Q or know some of the things Q said. I mean, including sometimes you can't tell people, you have to show them. So that is a fractal too. And it's true. And the Torah talks about it. Like even specifically, the Sikha that I've taught, the discourse of the Rebbe I taught the last training I did in July, I think, on Balak, where it talks about how the first stage of redemption is going to be full of revelation of evil, even amongst the Jewish people, and wars. And why is that? How could that be the first stage of redemption? And the Rebbe says basically that is designed to catalyze us into making the necessary shift to the ultimate redemption, where there is no more war and there is no more death and there is no more, all that we're looking for. And it requires shifting away from putting your faith in man. I want to put this everywhere. I started using the hashtag. You could do it too. That would be something else we could do. Hashtag trust God, not government. Hashtag trust God, not government. Really important. Like God will act through people, of course, primarily through people. Even like I said, the Torah is revealed through people, but we have to seek God through the people, not the people blocking God. Do you know what I mean? Like we have to see God through the body, not the body blocking God. That's the work that we're doing. So it was very easy. Even I got like, it's such a relief to think someone's coming to save you. And finally, whatever. But it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. Why? Because we have to change. We're the ones in charge. And they know this. I mean, the White Hats say this. We're not allowed to just do nothing. We have to change. And more importantly, God says it. That's why they say it, whether they know that or not. Anyway. Katie just learned that tzaddik is more accessible and powerful after death. Yeah. I have another story about that, but I'm not going to tell you right now. But yeah, the Tanya says that in book 5, page 173. Actually, it starts a few pages before that, but I memorized from page 173 onward in order to, it's a story I'll tell you another time, maybe. A tzaddik is absolutely more accessible and powerful after death. And not only that, the Tanya asks the question, the Alter Rebbe asks, where is the tzaddik found in the physical world after his death? Where is he manifested? And he's manifested in his students and followers who do the deep, toiling effort to learn his Torah until their brains think like his brain and to follow in his footsteps and guidance until, they're acting like emissaries, like limbs of the tzaddik and filled with that light and that power. When you act, it's like when the king sends you on a mission, you have all the force of the king. When a policeman stops someone for a traffic violation, that person has to listen to this whippersnapper kid not because he's the kid, because he's got all the government behind him. So that's when you do work, when you partner with Mashiach, when you partner with God, all the resources, those supernatural resources are available to you. This Chassidus says this straight up in many places. So again, it all comes down to us. But it all comes down to us making ourselves available and open to be channels, super empowered, joyful, supernatural channels for the levels of source, our souls, the central soul, God. It's all one. It's not separate. It's one. That is possible, Jennifer, that it couldn't, you're saying because he would have kept living. Well, it can't be handed to us like that. Again, I will say, because, can you guys see the chat? Can everyone see the chat? Should I read these? I'm on Restream, so I'm not on one platform. I'm streaming to 3 platforms. I don't know where everybody is. Jennifer says that if the Rebbe had stayed in his body, it would have become too obvious who he was due to his age. So maybe it can't be handed to us. I would say it would be fine for it to be handed to us. It was obvious that the Rebbe was supernatural. It was a shock that anything could happen to him. Total shock. But it had to be, because we weren't changing. That's the thing. So it's really not about the Rebbe, it's about us. And it's also about the Rebbe, but it's about us. Like, it's not about God, it's about us. But of course it's about God. Do you know what I mean? It's all one. I want to keep repeating this till it really gets into the brain wiring. We saw the Rebbe, but what about all those Jews that connect to the Rebbe? Yeah, but they're connecting to the Rebbe on purpose. Everybody here can connect to the Rebbe by hearing other people talk about the Rebbe, but receiving it, right? It's all the recipient, all the transmission. It's a transmission. It's not just a talk. It's transmission of a reality that's embedded in the black fire. The white fire is embedded in the black fire. When I'm talking, I see the white fire. I hope some of it's coming out in the black fire, but that's up to the recipient to say yes to this, and I need more. That's how we can connect to the Rebbe. There are people that are connected to the Rebbe that never saw the Rebbe physically, that are connected to the Rebbe beyond description. So yeah, that's 100% true. That's really true. Actually, there were people who saw the Rebbe physically who didn't get it. A lot of them. And a lot of them are suffering now. So I take your point and I cede it. Okay. Trump is saying, he's saying he's going to take over multiple democratic nations. First of all, I'm not here to promote the fire of Trump. I'm here to promote the fire of the Rebbe, but and you and me. But Trump is tricky, Trump, he says things, he says things, and then it turns out to be often what he says, but in a different way. I don't think he's going to invade other nations. There's always something behind it. It would not be good to invade other nations. I don't think that that's what's going to happen. Of course, you see, I can be much less reactive because we're not talking about Israel. So I think that he would probably have to convince that nation. And I don't think he's talking about many nations. I think he thinks that Canadians will want to be American, and they might. Let's see what deal he offers them. The Panama Canal, I don't know. And then there's Greenland. I don't know much about that either, but Canada, I do know a little bit. And I don't think he's planning to take it over undemocratically. I'm pretty sure not. Mashiach does not know he's Mashiach until he's told. He's actually given, Chassidus talks about this, he's given an extra level of soul. And believe it or not, there's a mimer, a deep discourse of the Alter Rebbe back from the late 1700s or early 1800s, called Es Halach Liajna. And in that mimer, in that discourse, the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe, talks about the process of Mashiach receiving it's a tzaddik, it's the mega soul, but he receives an additional soul, an additional level of soul that activates him as Mashiach on the internal level. And the Alter Rebbe compares this receiving of an additional soul to a stroke. And he says that it's so much light that, like a stroke, he describes a stroke as there's too much blood and it doesn't fit and it confuses the limbs and whatever, he describes it that way, that the soul will cause. Anyway, this is really interesting because the Rebbe had 2 strokes, just saying. But there was a certain point when and that was after we accepted him and started accepting him as Mashiach. There's a certain point when he is given the word, but that's not enough. It's the people that have to activate it. Well, it's really circular, right? He activates the people, and the people have to activate him. Like we activate the Torah has to activate us, and it goes on and on like that. Forever, by the way. I'm just reading these. It would be incredible to bring that energy back. I'm feeling it coming back, to be honest with you, Vibe Tribe. I'm feeling that energy coming back. That's the fire energy. And that's because I'm feeling it, I'm realizing that this is right and this has to happen now. And I'm telling you, for 30 years, I'm like not talking about this. Once in a while, I'd hint, whatever. Anyway. Okay. I'm reading. That's why Trump needs prayers. Yes, he does. Thank you, Rachel. In God we trust is on the dollar bill. Bitcoin bitachon. Maybe. God took Moses out before entering the land. It is similar. Of course, it's a parallel. He was present and he disappeared from the people, and they were devastated because, when he disappeared, things got a lot worse. They started to get really persecuted by Pharaoh. So yeah, these are all fractals. They're parallels. These are all parallels. A fractal isn't exactly the same. It's not a carbon copy. It's a pattern. Like a fractal is, if you have a fractal of a tree and its branches, so you have a main trunk and then you have bigger branches and smaller branches. And so that's like the circulatory system, right? The veins. That's like a thought. You have a main thought and it branches off. You see me doing that all the time. So all of these things are fractals. There's a core pattern that shows up in different specific ways depending on where it shows up. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much. Can you guys see the chat? I'm not at the end, so I'm not getting your answers when I'm asking questions. But if you're not seeing the chat, then tell me, then I'll make sure to read what people are saying. Although I'd be a little embarrassed to read this out loud. Thank you so much. We all need to experience our essence. We all need to go deep inside and find new ways to. I don't want to use the word shine because these things are, even though I do use it, it's not deep enough. Our fire needs to burn. And our water needs to flow. Our fire needs to burn, and we need to be willing to let that happen. Obviously, with guidance and groundedness and everything else. Okay. The energy is coming back. Nechama says the energy is coming back. I was always afraid to say anything, very uncomfortable for a lot of us. Okay, Gibb says, when I witness the darkest dark. You see all the chat? Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's true. The U.S. is called Artsot Habrit, the countries of the covenant. Let them rise to that. Let them rise to that name. This was way longer than I expected. Okay, you guys can, I would really appreciate actually if you would like and share the videos, this one and future ones. If you're not following me on Twitter or my Telegram, please do, because I would like to build those platforms. And Telegram specifically right now is, Twitter is going to be the main forum where humanity discusses stuff. So I really would it's hard to get visible on Twitter. I will post after the fact under the YouTube. I have to figure out how to do it before they change the platform. I've said that 3 times now. But I'll post the links. They are on the link to my previous 2 videos on YouTube. So if you want to go there, I'll post the link to the free classes that you can try out. And I hope you will let yourself feel the energy. Like deep learning, it's not like, you can't do it when you're distracted. And it's easy to get distracted. But if you do the deep learning enough that you get the first burst of light, you will be hooked. You will be hooked. It's a pleasure that I can't describe. Um, so yeah, if you can be and share the video, be on the platforms. I do need the help. Um, for my part, I'm going to really, really, I am committed to being visible and pushing through and doing more and more and facilitating things and bringing on other people and getting questions answered and, supporting people both inside and out of my programs. I will say one other thing. I just joined another program. I've been in a lot of programs because I find I grow in a completely different way. Like if I sit by myself, I can do the reason that I started videoing again is because I just joined a program. I couldn't get out of my way. I went to one class and I got on live because I knew she would say things that I needed to hear. And just the fact of one of the first things she said in this program is you have to make offers for people to buy things every day. Have you heard me make an offer for anything, for you to buy anything? First of all, I haven't talked to you, but yeah, at my last, like in July when I launched this program. Before that, it was almost a year. How come? Because I want to be nice and I want to give, and I do want to give. And I give to the whole world. And I do need to make money, but that's beside the point. It's not that hard to make money. There are other ways to make money. The point is that you have to give people the opportunity to turn inspiration into transformation. When people say, yes, I want this enough that I'm going to choose it, like I want this mentorship or I want this anything enough that I'm going to choose it and I'm going to invest in it. Not only my money, my time, my commitment, my yearning. At that instant, the transformation starts. You move from inspiration to transformation. So I'm going to be doing that too. So I'm also transparently asking you to help me. I wrote down today that I would like to directly impact 1 million people this year. Can I do that? Yeah, it's possible. I have a book. It's going to be published probably within the next few months. I mean, I'm still doing a final rewrite, but if I can be, I see how it works, and fire lights fires. So I hope I'm helping you to light your fire and help me with mine in that circular way. It's all the same. Okay. Thanks, you guys. See you next time. How do I end this? Okay. I love just saying everything I think. It's so much easier. It's so much fun. Can you imagine? Anyway, we'll be growing by leaps and bounds as we do it together. We really will. And we're doing with God. We're doing with Mashiach, and it's just going to amplify. Like, reality will change as we do this. It might already be. I wonder if we would have had a deal already if we hadn't done that broadcast with Rabbi Wolf. I don't know, but it's all good. What Hasidic book? I mean, the Sichos of the Rebbe, Shar Yichud of the Mittler Rebbe, but Shar Yichud you can't learn by yourself, even if you speak fluent Hebrew. Okay. Bye. Lehitraot.